Department of Water and Sanitation has seen an uptick in the time it takes to approve water use license applications. This as the department is now processing more than 70% of license applications within 90 days, targeting to get that to 100% as soon as possible. Business Day highlights the importance of leadership back in the basics and firm management. The publication's editor-at-large, Hilary Joffrey, joins us now with greater insights. Hilary, a pleasure. Hello.
Thank you.
All right, this is actually very interesting. We've seen some efficiencies at the Department of Water and Sanitation. Let's talk about where we took the water use license kind of applications from and where they are today.
Okay, yeah. It's a very interesting case study of reform. If you like, economic growth boosting reform. Because this is one of those case studies which shows that often in government, you don't need more money, you just need better management. And in this particular case, the turnaround was driven by instilling principles of management which are very common, in fact, totally standard in the private sector, like business process re-engineering. I know they're technical terms, but apparently if you've ever done industrial engineering or an MBA or worked in a factory, you will know these terms and you will take them for granted. Business process engineering, continuous improvement. You take the kind of 50 different processes that are, or steps that are involved, you bring in the kind of staff and the officials to collaborate and put ideas into how can we do this more efficiently, better, more cost effectively, and then you continuously improve the way you do things. And that is very standard stuff in operations management in the private sector, but I am told pretty unknown in the public sector in South Africa. And it's not that there obviously weren't, you know, there were vested interests and all sorts of other reasons which were holding back the water licenses. But the reason this is really an interesting one is because it was a turnaround in the management led by, you know, a strong Director General with the help of Operation Vulindlela and a supportive minister that really made the difference. And I think this is a case study which therefore can have lessons for other government processes and departments which really badly need fixing. And the bottom line of it is that at the time that President Ramaphosa made this announcement in his State of the Nation address in 2020 that the water licenses were going to be fixed to fix the economy, water licenses were taking 300 days on average to process. Some were waiting years, some were never getting their water licenses. Now, water licenses, 70% of them take less than 90 days to process, and they're working to get that to 100%.
I want to speak about whether this is an issue of skills and professionalism within the public sector. Is that actually what we're trying to understand here is, do we have the kinds of skills to duplicate this model in other areas now that we know that it works?
Look, this is a department, I'm told, and from the case study material that I've read, did have a lot of scientists because water licenses are quite complex things. You know, and the department works to try and keep the balance between promoting economic growth, because every kind of operation, be it mining, be it farming, be it forestry, be it manufacturing, that uses a certain, draws a certain amount of water directly from the water resource of the country, has to have a license, and has to pay for it, in fact. So it's, and the department tries to support that, but at the same time conserve our water resources. So it is not a kind of a really low level, it's quite a skilled thing already. But, you know, all in this, poorly managed, all the skills in the world are not going to make a difference. So I think it's not just about a shortage of skills. In this case, they have now, you know, 3 or 4 years later, hired a bunch of extra people to make it even faster and take the burden off the rest of the department. But it was done without firing anybody or hiring anybody at the time, just by putting a lot of focus on it. And as Sean Phillips, the Director General of the department, said, you know, often in government, first of all, these private sector principles of management are just not known. They're not taught in public management courses. But also, often, sort of senior officials and ministers think that their job is just to kind of stay at the high level, the strategy, the policy. But in fact, unless they pay attention to, they don't have to micromanage, but unless they pay attention to the actual management and leadership within a department, whatever policies they try and put in place are not going to happen. So I think, look, obviously it's not as simple as all of this, but I do think that it is a kind of an example, quite a nice example of how you can turn around a department or a process.
Yes.
Not easily and not without resistance and not without vested interests being interrupted. But it is possible, and often in the public sector, we think it's money, we think it's kind of governance or whatever, it's actually management very often. And it had been done before, something very similar had been done in Home Affairs with ID books many years ago. Very similar case study.
What I found also interesting here, and I'm wondering if with the water use licenses, because with the ID books, of course, very different, the fact that that was also very high up on the president's list of priorities under Operation Vulindlela, could that have also been a bit of a boost here? That also, Hillary, of course, we can speak about various departments, but if at presidency, there's certain amounts of pressure for certain things to get done, that can force different departments to make sure they get done.
That has been very important. Those Operation Vulindlela reforms have really been maybe a belated and partial so far success of the 6th administration, is it? A lot of it happened in the last year or two when the president and the Operation Vulindlela team started really pushing. But yes, I think choosing a limited number of things to focus on and really pushing, and with the president pushing right from the top, made a difference in this case. And you're surely going to ask me, I mean, there's a whole lot of other stuff wrong with water, and South Africa's got some big water issues still to come. But I think in this, as other cases, you need to sort of decide what your priorities are going to be and go for them. And the president's intervention did make a difference, I think.
And with that said, now that we have this case study, and like you say, there's various sources that really tell us how things were turned around here. Do we know if there are systems and processes, monitoring, evaluation within government to get the best practice kind of spread across? Because, of course, this is one case, but we could duplicate at Home Affairs, maybe in education. But, of course, the people in other departments need to know that there's a way. Hillary, do we have a process like that might exist?
I think every process is different, and I don't know that you want to impose this is a kind of reform that is a case study maybe for other repetitive type processes in government. Visa applications, mining license applications, public health records. Repetitive processes lend themselves to this kind of operations management, but a lot of what needs to be done much better in government would need maybe different techniques. But the principle that it needs good management, good leadership, and leadership focus on these operational issues from the top. One of the other repetitive processes which really badly need this kind of proper management is things like maintenance, particularly including in water, because having maintenance protocols, sticking to the schedule, making sure it's done, those are all those are classic bureaucratic things, and the old way of doing it was terribly bureaucratic and stodgy and standard, and that doesn't really work anymore. But there are new modern ways of managing these kind of bureaucracies, which government, as I understand it, has really not done enough to install.
Well, I love to read the story, because it's always good to hear a positive one coming out of government there. And thank you for sharing it with us, Hillary. And also, doing the digging. Who would have known? Thank you so much. And that was Hillary Joffe, editor at large for the Business Day.